Hello, everybody. We're going to talk about TNCs and their negative impacts. The aim of this lesson is to define the word TNCs and give examples and explain the negative impacts that TNCs have around the world. So, let's start. TNCs can also be known as transnational corporations. Sometimes they're also called multinational companies. These are large companies that see the whole world rather than the local area as a resource. TNCs use labor, raw materials, technology, and transport from all over the world without looking at boundaries. An example of a TNC is Ford. This automobile company is known for all its cars. Although Ford has many factories all over the world, its headquarters are found in America. Usually, TNC's headquarters are found in more economically developed countries, like countries in North America, Europe, and even some parts of Asia. Many times, the factories that manufacture and assemble the products of these large companies are found in less economically developed countries, such as countries in Africa, South America, and parts of Asia. Let's look at some of the problems associated with TNCs. Although TNCs spend a lot of money and invest in the countries their factories are in, relative to the amount of investment, they employ quite a few employees. Many times locals are very poorly paid. Most times, only very few local skilled workers are employed, as most of the highly skilled workers might be foreigners. Everyone's heard the company Apple. Apple's headquarters are found in America. However, they have companies all over the world. Some of their major manufacturing factories are found in China. These are some of the products that Apple makes, including the iPad and the iPhone. Apple employs young workers like these to work in their companies. Over the years, many investigations have been done on the working conditions at these factories. The people working in these factories usually have a very monotonous job, repeating the same process over and over for a shift of around 12 hours. Many employees also live in dormitories like this one, where they can share a room with up to 24 other people. The rules for these dormitories are very strict, sometimes even not allowing them to use a kettle. Workers that have been interviewed said that they are regularly asked to work overtime. According to Chinese law, an employee can only work up to 36 hours of overtime in 1 month, but many of the employees in this factory work up to 60 and 80 hours overtime every single month. While they're working, some of the employees say that they're forbidden to speak to each other, and some of them were forced to stand for hours without a break. An employee even said that they only had a rest day after 2 weeks of work. Over the years, Apple has installed suicide nets around their perimeter. This way, employees could be prevented from taking their lives. Another problem with TNCs is that over time, factories have been building up more machines. Many times, these machines take up the jobs of employees. This means that an even smaller amount of people can work in the factory. Most of the profits that a TNC makes go overseas. If a company's headquarters is in Italy and its factory is in Nigeria, the company will invest in Nigeria and also pay the employees and pay for the raw materials. However, most of the profits will go to the country where the TNC belongs, which would be Italy. Sometimes money is better spent on improving housing, diet, and sanitation in certain areas and countries rather than improvements being spent on the TNC factory. Look at all those chocolates. Chocolate comes from cocoa beans. Around 70% of the world's cocoa beans are produced by 2 million farmers in Central Africa. The countries of Ivory Coast and Ghana are the world's two largest producers of the cocoa bean. They are also the biggest victims of deforestation. Reporters have found that there are large villages of cocoa growers, sometimes even having 10,000 residents. These can be found inside national parks, which are protected. Since these areas are protected, cocoa beans are not allowed to be grown and traded. However, many of the farmers are cutting down the forest to make space for this plant. Once the plant grows, the cocoa beans are taken and sold to most of the world's largest chocolate companies. Farmers end up being exploited and underpaid for their crop. Many of the farmers live in poverty and can't even afford a bar of chocolate. These are some of the companies that buy their chocolate from these areas we just talked about. Companies like these are not providing enough protection to the environment in the countries where they're getting their raw materials, the cocoa beans. There may be some TNCs that also don't give enough attention to safety and health factors of the workers in the factory. Another problem is that although the country where the company's headquarters are found makes a lot of money very quickly, less money is made by the countries that have the manufacturing or assembly factories. Many times, headquarters of TNCs are found in more economically developed countries, and manufacturing plants are found in less economically developed countries. That means that if the developed countries are gaining more and more profit, whilst the developing countries are not, that widens the economic gap between the two countries. This makes it harder for the developing countries to keep up. Many times, minerals are exported rather than manufactured. Let's look at the Sumitomo Corporation. Its headquarters are found in Japan. This TNC has many factories around the world. However, we're going to talk about the one found in Bolivia. This is the Minera San Cristobal. It is one of the largest mines for silver, lead, and zinc. The company that is operating the mine, Sumitomo, is one of the world's largest mining companies. Over the years, miners in this area have protested about their poor working conditions. Although the Japanese company employs locals to mine the materials are then exported and manufactured in other places. Bolivia receives the profit of the raw materials like zinc, lead, and silver. However, once the minerals are exported by the company then manufactures them and changes them into different objects, such as mobile phones. Mobile phones are sold at a much higher price, and the profits are much higher. All these profits go to the country of Japan, where the headquarters are located. The prices of the raw materials are much lower compared with those of manufactured goods. So the poorer country, in this case Bolivia, is making much less money from the trade than the richer country, which is Japan. And this is an unfair trade. Final check. Pause the video and allow yourself 2 minutes to work them out. When you're done, press play and check your answers. Okay, First statement: the gap between developing and developed countries increases. That is true. Second statement: workers have good health and safety conditions and a good pay. That is definitely incorrect. Third statement: large areas of habitats may be lost due to an increase in the size of company mines or fields. That is also correct. Last statement: minerals are exported, manufactured, and sold. The profit still goes to the locals. This last statement is incorrect. Minerals are exported and sold, however, the profit goes to the country where the headquarters are found, not to the locals. Okay, remember, geography is everywhere.